we're gonna try to identify the A and B plots or the plots first as a jumping off point, and then we'll go right to you. How about that?
Okay. All right. All
Okay.
right.
Okay.
Fine.
Can I mention this before we
Changing
start?
it up on us. I know.
All right.
Can I
Calling an
mention this
audible.
before we start? There's an error in this episode in the opening minutes. If you look in the background, when Sheridan turns around, when they introduce him, the ship's name is the Agamemnon. They accidentally use the Cortez serial number in the background on the main monitor screen.
Ooh, deep lore.
Ooh.
All right. So this one, in terms of, the plots are pretty tightly woven together, but the way that I identify it, and you guys are free to discuss and disagree, is, Sheridan's arrival, the introduction of Sheridan and, him taking command and kind of learning the basics of Babylon 5. And then the B plot is, basically the Minbari subplot with them, what's going on behind the scenes with them, and them trying to start this war back up, and then of course the background that we learn from them. Now, again, feel free to disagree, or if you see some other plots in there that I'm missing or whatever.
I think there's more arcs than plots. I mean, or than normally there's an A plot and a B plot. This one, it's, as you said, very intertwined. Kind of difficult to, they're all now they're leaving arcs for a bunch of different things. Clearly, Sheridan coming in. I like how it opened up off of, where he was on the Manamanan ship.
Yeah, Agamemnon.
Yeah, because that's a word. But at any rate, but it was kind of interesting. You've definitely got something going on with, where we had seen before, with the plot of the military. I think even on Earth, there's a couple of factions going on, and I think that became kind of apparent right off the bat. We see a general.
Yeah, General Haig, right?
How many times have we seen a general that was not
being a little bit secretive, right?
Yeah, he was being a little secretive, yeah. But he wasn't combative.
Mm-hmm.
Like the only other
Yeah.
time we've seen
right,
we've seen
challenging everybody.
anybody in the military, they're trying to challenge Sinclair for the control of the station.
And I think you're pointing out some important things that we can get into a little deeper. But yeah, there's definitely something brewing, right?
Right.
Yeah, I think it's obvious that they've changed their tune towards Babylon 5 for whatever reason.
Right.
Well, I'm going to keep on I'm going to mess up this whole season calling him Sinclair. I apologize for that in advance. Sheridan was the now deceased president's second pick, apparently, behind Sinclair, who we find out has been recalled back to Earth, and then suddenly, and mind you, we're only 8 days after the assassination.
Right.
So it's kind of like, oh, well, wow, they just, no time is, a week has passed, basically.
Right.
So.
Okay, Jason, you had something you wanted to start with?
Yeah. Something, we talked about the new opener, but something that I've noticed throughout the entire episode was the improvement in the production design.
That was
and I don't know if season 2 on Prime is the remastered, updated version of the series, but the visual effects look better. They're baked better. The production design looks better. The lighting is a little bit more cinematic than the first season. First season was really flat, and it looks like you were on a high school stage instead of a space station.
And it's kind of sparsely populated. There's more people in the background, more extras.
Yeah, there's that. The color is a little bit richer. It's a little bit more intense.
You see more people on CNC.
Yeah, and the camera work is better. It just feels like overall it got a boost in budget. Maybe like
That's
okay, this thing came in and we got Box Lightner. Well, maybe we'll throw a little bit
a little more
to
money.
it.
Yeah.
Everything looks like it's been improved.
Even the CGI to me looked
Yeah,
better.
the
I
CGI
noticed that
much
right off the bat.
Yeah, they still can't do explosions very well,
No.
but that's an artifact of Video Toaster and the particle generator that they have. I
Right.
mean, it was like, oh, particles, that was explosions back then.
Yeah. Now, remember, Jason, the company that made the Video Toaster,
New tech.
they merged into part of it merged into a special effects company and expanded from there, and was used for years in the industry itself.
Well, there are still
and-
pieces of it that are out there still being used. Yeah.
I agree with your general assessment there, Jason, and I think it comes across. You were talking specifically about production value, but I think it comes across the board. And we can get into all these details, but the writing, the performances, the plot, and the way they're dealing with things.
Even the Doctor was better.
Yeah, I think this was. It's like summer vacation happened, and they were like, "Hey, we're gonna get down to business now."
Did they body double him? What's going on here? Different guy.
Maybe he took a little. Maybe he took
some acting lessons?
Acting lessons in between seasons. I don't know, but
Well,
I mean, he didn't have very much to do in this
Ouch.
one.
No, but he was
But
still much
he's-
more personable.
Well, I think he
Less
was more.
cold.
He's more invested in his character. It feels like.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Green Girl
Second
mentions
season.
there, Boxleitner elevated things. I think it's
Okay.
true.
Okay,
I think he did.
let me interrupt for a sec. Why do you say Boxleitner elevated things? I mean, I agree that everything's been elevated. I agree with every of the points
Well,
made, but why do you think he would?
Because Boxleitner, for all that Michael O'Hare may have talent and could have been the best in the world, the fact that he was going through the mental difficulties that he was doing
Mhm.
that made it difficult for people to work with him on set, that factors into it. But also it's Bruce Boxleitner. I mean, this is, by now he's done Tron, he's done Scarecrow and Mrs. King, he's done Bring 'Em Back Alive. He's a recognizable name.
Yeah.
And you bring him in as the lead. It's like having Scott Bakula as your lead for Enterprise. They're like, "Whoa, they got Scott Bakula."
Well, and he just slid into place like almost effortlessly. And I mean, okay, he had a lot of scenes with Ivanova, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
my opinion of Ivanova just leapt, in this episode.
Did she go up a few pegs?
Yes,
I
because
was
she
thinking
she
the whole
wasn't a
time.
caricature. She was like actually having human conversations, right? And they were mostly with Boxleitner or Sheridan.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? I mean, do you agree?
No, I
Bob,
literally
you were kind of.
I was
Well,
thinking
remember,
about
at
you the
this
whole time.
point-
Kim.
As far as scripting and how everything was producing forward, as far as JMS, we're in a trap door. Technically, this part of the scripts and everything going forward shouldn't have happened, but because
Right.
of the departure of Sinclair, JMS had to change things around, and it was for the better. It worked out.
Yeah.
Sometimes these trap doors don't work, or sometimes they sort of work, but in the case of JMS, it worked beautifully.
Okay, can I throw in a quick anecdote here about in this episode? And again, we could talk about all of it, and I won't. But so much information came. I mean, they tied up so many things. And again, I think you're right, Madman, that this is a direct result of the trapdoor thing. It's like all this stuff that was kind of floating out there, and he was like piecemealing it. It's like the realization came due to what happened, and they're like, okay, we got to just deal with this, and they dealt with it beautifully in this episode. All the Minbari stuff, it's like we're not jacking around anymore. We're actually getting to a story. There's a friend of mine who used to love watching Vampire Diaries. God knows why. But she did. And it was, she used to talk about how it's like, oh, they have these things that seem like it's going to be a big storyline. And they're just like, nope, they just dealt with it right away. And it kind of became a running joke, and that's what this episode felt like. It's like, oh, all these things floating out. Suddenly they're just like, nope, we're just telling you what it is. Here we go.
Well, and there was that info dump. There was that moment, and I'm sure we'll get into it, where Lanier is finally like, Okay, I just got to level with you. This is what I'm supposed to tell you, and blah 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 blah.
And
You're like,
and this
Well,
this
and
ep-
that's paying off. That's paying off from the season finale where
Right.
Delenn tells Lanier, "Okay, you're going to have to tell him because he's not here for me to tell him, and I got to do this cocoon thing."
yeah.
So there's a thread there that had to be picked up. Now, whether it's the same piece of information pre and post trapdoor, that's a question.
yeah,
But
I
I would imagine it's probably the same because Straczynski's got the overall 5-year plan of what was originally supposed to
yeah,
happen.
and Madman, you could probably comment on this better, but I think it was, but compressed.
I can comment on it, but it will give a lot away.
Okay.
Some things are supposed to be, and some things that are not supposed to be from the original script itself.